The first time I saw her, she was suspended in a crystalline cocoon, her silver-blue form barely touching the ground, translucent veins glowing faintly beneath her skin. The medics said she would not survive the night. The alien princess, Lyrithiel of the Zyphery Empire, had been struck by a rare parasitic virus during a diplomatic tour. Every attempt to stabilize her had failed, and the council whispered that she would die before the sun of their twin moon set. I was just a human assigned as an interstellar medical consultant, nothing more than a specialist they'd pulled from the fringe research colonies. The Zyphery were notorious for their xenophobia, and humans were tolerated only in the rarest emergencies. Yet, somehow, I had been chosen, perhaps because the royal medics had exhausted every Zyphery solution and dared not try the untested human methods. I remember stepping into the medical chamber, the air shimmering with antiseptic ion currents, and seeing her cocoon pulse faintly with bioluminescent light. She stirred weakly, her large eyes violet, almost liquid, half open. The first thing I noticed was a delicate sigil etched into her forehead, a twisting spiral of silver on azure, the emblem of her house, House Teacher YNN, representing wisdom tempered with relentless ambition. Her people revered these sigils as not just family symbols, but as conduits of personal destiny. "You have no chance," muttered the chief Zyphery medic. His multiple limbs hovered above the console, adjusting the bioscanners with mechanical precision. "If she takes a single drop of blood outside our treatments, the consequences, you do not know what you invite." I looked at him, and for a moment I wonder if he meant threat or prophecy. The Zyphery did not make idle warnings. "I understand," I said, my voice calm, though my heart thudded. "But I see a way. It's risky, but I can do it." He stared at me. I could see suspicion flicker across his translucent skin, like sunlight through ice. "Your methods, human blood transfusion? It's forbidden." I nodded. "Forbidden, yes. Dangerous, yes. But it may be the only way to save her." The ritual of blood. In Zyphery culture, blood is sacred, a binding force of loyalty, life, and identity. To give one's blood to another was an act reserved for the most intimate of relationships, bond between ruling pairs, oaths of fealty between generals and sovereigns, or sacrifices during the ancient moonlight ascension. I had anticipated resistance. When I extended my hand, the medics recoiled, whispers cascading to the chamber in a language both melodic and sharp, each syllable like a dagger. "I volunteer," I said. "Let me try." They hesitated, calculating, debating in low hums that sounded almost like music. Then, finally, one elder, her personal healer, an imposing figure with 6 translucent limbs and eyes like polished jet, floated forward. "Very well," she said, "but know this. If the bond fails, you will not live, and neither will the princess." I had trained for moments like this in theory, but never in practice. I drew a sterile blade, tiny and precise, slicing a shallow line across my forearm. My blood shimmered a faint red in the ambient glow of the chamber. The princess's eyes widened as I approached. There was no fear in them, only something heavier, a recognition, almost like memory. Perhaps she sensed the gravity of the act, the raw life I was offering her. I touched her vein with mine, letting the blood mingle, watching as her cocoon absorbed the unfamiliar essence. The Zyphery healers muttered chants, syllables vibrating against the walls, and I felt a strange warmth spread through her body, like the first light of dawn breaking through a storm. Then her cocoon split. Her limbs unfolded, delicate, ethereal, yet surprisingly strong. She sat up, her eyes brighter, her aura stabilizing. For the first time since I had entered the chamber, she looked at me and smiled, a human understanding, not bound by protocol or empire. "You saved me," she whispered. I nodded, my own voice barely audible. "Yes, you live because of it." The Empire's expectations. Word traveled faster than the speed of their gravitic communications. By the time she regained strength, the Empire expected her return, her council, her family, and even her personal guard, warriors renowned for their unwavering loyalty and brutal efficiency, demanded she resume her role as heir to the Sci-Fi throne. But something had shifted. I saw it in the quiet moments, how she lingered by the observation deck, watching the human colonies below, how she traced my name in a human script I had taught her, a language forbidden in royal courts, how she laughed softly at my dry jokes, a sound so alien to her world it made the medics blanch. I should have expected resistance. The Sci-Fi Empire was built on duty, honor, and unquestioned obedience. But Lirithiel's gaze, when it fell upon me, carried a quiet rebellion. She was no longer merely a princess. She was something in between, a bridge between two species. "I cannot return," she said one night, her voice soft but firm. The moons hung low over the city spires, casting elongated shadows across the floor. "Not yet. Not like this." I froze. "You mean defy your empire?" She turned to me, her violet eyes shimmering. "You gave me life, and with it, I have seen what choice feels like. I cannot be a puppet again, not when I've tasted freedom, even briefly." Her words hung heavy in the chamber. Outside, the city thrummed with the rigid rhythms of the Empire. Guards paced, ceremonial banners rippling with twin currents of energy, heraldic sigils marking every spire and turret. But in that moment, we were suspended, two beings caught between worlds. The political storm. When the council learned of her refusal, the Empire trembled. Advisors whispered of betrayal, of scandal, of political machinations that could destabilize entire systems. Messages arrived. Imperial envoys, emissaries with armed escorts, even assassins cloaked as diplomats. I knew our time was short. If the Sci-Fi were allowed to enforce their will, the princess would be torn from my side. But Lirithiel was no longer the fragile figure she had been. The bond we shared, sealed by blood and mutual understanding, gave her strength beyond protocol or fear. We devised a plan. She would go to a neutral zone, a human colony in the outer rings where the Empire's reach was limited. There, she could regain control of her destiny, and I could protect her. But it would not be easy. The journey required stealth, subterfuge, and the manipulation of political expectations. The Sci-Fi monitored every transmission, every movement, every heartbeat of their princess. The flight, the night we left, the palace was silent. Ceremonial lights burned bright, banners flaring in the windless vacuum of the observation spires. Lirithiel wore no royal garments, only practical armor adapted from human designs, lightweight and flexible. Her sigil, once bright on her forehead, was dimmed, a small rebellion, a quiet denial of expectation. We moved through maintenance shafts, airlocks, and gravity elevators, avoiding patrols. I marveled at her skill, her agility, her ability to blend into human machinery with an elegance that belied her royal training. As we reached the docking bay, the twin moons casting silver streaks across the polished decks, she paused. "You saved me," she said again, her voice low. "But now you risk yourself as well. Are you ready for that?" I smiled faintly. "I already have. Twice over." And then we launched, leaving behind the Empire, the banners, and the expectations. The stars welcomed us like an embrace, indifferent and infinite, life between worlds. The human colony was small but vibrant, a cluster of settlements orbiting a dying star. Lyrithiel adapted quickly, her curiosity insatiable. She explored markets, learned human customs, even tasted foods that the Sci-Fi considered unclean. Each day, she laughed more freely, the constraints of royalty dissolving slowly under human influence. Yet the Empire did not forget. Messages arrived, sometimes subtle, sometimes menacing. They offered amnesty threats or bribes, but she remained steadfast. Her choice had become a statement. No longer merely a princess, she was now a symbol of what freedom could mean, even for the most controlled of lives. And in the quiet moments, she came to me, tracing my hand with delicate fingers. "You gave me choice," she said. "Not duty, not title, but life. I belong here, for now, with you." I swallowed hard. There were no words worthy of that truth. The Empire watches. The final message came months later. A hollow transmission from the Sci-Fi throne room, the Emperor himself visible for the first time in centuries. His presence was imposing, a whirlwind of silk and metal, the spiral sigil of House Throne dominating the backdrop. "You have taken what is ours." His voice resonated across the colony, filtered through secure channels. "But perhaps there is wisdom in your defiance. She has learned, and perhaps you have as well. Choose carefully, for freedom once tasted is difficult to abandon." Lyrithiel stood beside me, her head high. "I have chosen," she said simply. And for the first time, the Empire heard her, and did not command, could not compel. A new beginning. We watched the twin moons rise over the colony, silver and blue, casting long shadows across the human architecture. Lyrithiel's hand found mine, and I felt the warmth of her life, her trust, her defiance. The Empire was far away, vast and unyielding, but here, in this small corner of the galaxy, she had found herself. And I, a human, had witnessed the birth of something extraordinary, a princess who no longer belonged to her empire, but to her own choices. Her violet eyes met mine, glimmering with quiet determination. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." I smiled. "No," I said softly. "It was your choice, and you made it yours." And in the silence, punctuated only by the hum of the colony's life support and the distant shimmer of stars, I realized that some bonds, once forged in blood and courage, could never be broken.